horse with a pearl earring, taking fewer steps toward imagined disasters. I had to come to terms with the fact that Penny might have swallowed my pearl earring, and there was nothing that I could do about it. Penny is a flea-bitten gray mare in her mid-20s. She was some Amish family's primary means of transportation before she was traded in for a newer model at the age of 13 and swiftly sold at the New Holland auction in Pennsylvania with the hope of becoming a fox hunter in Tryon, North Carolina. Penny hated that job. As with many dissatisfied creatures in the world, she made her way to me. The earring was entirely my fault. Closing shift at the farm happens at ever-changing times. Like the rest of the world beyond the polar regions, we're swimming through the thick Vaseline air of a heat wave. Penny the horse has metabolic disease, and the heat has been rough on her this year. I'd adjusted my last hay of the day accordingly to take advantage of the cooler breezes late at night. I don't like to eat when I'm hot, and I've projected that onto the horses. After a long day of sessions in the barn, I shivered in the air conditioning inside the house for a while. I thought I was getting ahead of my nighttime rituals, like taking off my earrings and pearl necklace so I could jump straight in the shower after being sweat-drenched during last call for the horses. I became distracted and placed the earrings in my pocket. My left pocket. The pocket I place Penny's gooey horse treat wrapped in a ball around her meds every evening. I'm usually very careful about what I put in my left pocket. One of my greatest joys is scouring the sand beneath my feet in the riding arena for artifacts mixed in the dredged river sand. More often than not, these are shards of glass and glazed pottery. I go to great lengths to remove those pieces before setting out for the last feeding of the day. On the night in question, I checked my pockets for amateur archaeology, but I did not check them for earrings. The medicine cabinet in the wash rack of the barn is our apothecary. In it you'll find everything from arnica cream, sea salt, and shampoo to stethoscopes and syringes. Penny is on a daily anti-inflammatory pill that I divide and mix into the most moist, juicy horse treat on the market. Try to hide that pill in anything else, and you'll see what a smart mouth she has. I popped the pill into my pocket, and I stacked the hay cart. Going down the line, I marveled at how much easier it was to throw hay over the fence when Julian was out with his girls on the grass field, leaving only Moose and Pepper to nose me as I tossed. I learned to bring the boy and his harem back over once the hay was on the ground, but they all crowd into the corner of the temporary fence, judging me with their eyes, waiting for the person with thumbs to give them access to their dinner. I rolled the cart to Penny on the other side of the fence line, abutting the field she shares with Faith, the golden pony, the baby of the barn at 10 years old. I reached into my pocket and felt something against my finger as I pulled out Penny's pill ball. She's an aggressive treat grabber, so I tapped her nose, a signal to wait, and extended the flat of my palm. She gobbled it up gently. In the haste to keep her happy, I'd pulled my pocket up. I reached down to press the fabric back into my pant leg. It was then that I felt a sharp point, a tiny earring post. There was only one earring in my pocket. By this point, Penny was working through her flakes of sweet-smelling alfalfa hay. I climbed through the broad vinyl fence boards. One of my goals since moving here to easily fit through the fence. I've reached it, and the move is now second nature. Staring at Penny, my options were slim. Horses can't puke, but their esophaguses are huge and wide. Their bellies can expertly calcify foreign objects, which presents its own future problems. I imagine myself digging through every fresh poo pile in the field in the coming days, trying to settle my mind that the jury had passed through her. Faced with absolutely nothing I could do to solve this problem, I decided to take a rare option for me. I decided not to worry about it. Putting this tool into motion felt foreign and out of place. I continued to feel awkward and out of practice at this letting go thing for the rest of the evening. I was relatively successful. Later, I found the mate for the lone earring in the spot where I put them every night. Apparently, I had placed it there before heading down to the barn for the closing shift, forgetting about the other one. My presumed problem was not a problem. Which brings me to the lesson I've been driving home to barn staff lately. Take the fewest steps. A barn manager I worked under told me this long ago. Remove the footsteps from each task. If you can walk back and forth once instead of 12 times to accomplish the same task, take the path of fewer footsteps. Horses do this too. They're efficient in how they spend time and energy. Humans ask them to take a lot of extra steps, and it confounds them, but they generally comply with our weird asks. We're like bemusing strange aliens with the things we expect horses to do, but they put up with us in a way that's almost as if they're curious to see what we're going to do next. We intrigue them with our oddities. I had a choice with the penny situation. I could have worried myself sick over it, which I'm prone to do, or I could let it go and continue with my business until a problem truly emerged. To gain the efficiency in this endeavor, it was essential that I truly let go instead of pretending to be okay on the outside while I privately obsessed over the details. Private relinquishment is the hardest thing to do. But I did it, and then I found the solution in a crystal bowl in the bathroom. The other earring. It was not inside Penny's stomach. It was exactly where my overbusy and overtired mind placed it and then forgot about it. Farms have a way of refusing to let one story stay the only story. What could have been a night centered on a lost earring became a lesson in being aware of how many steps I was taking. While I was working hard to practice mental and emotional efficiency, the farm was teaching a new generation how to spend a summer night. A new tradition. When 3 teenagers came to me with their plan to start a new annual tradition of celebrating senior graduation by camping in the graveyard field, my knee-jerk reaction was absolutely not. My general response to any question is no. It buys me time to think about the details. Oddly, this time, I unequivocally said yes. And I'm so glad that I did. Agreeing was an improvised version of me learning how to take fewer internal steps. Barn friendships are very different than the social pacts that form at schools and out in the wilds of normal life. Barn buddies don't conform to societal norms. The weirdos and the nerds hang out with the jocks. It's like the Breakfast Club, but with less angst and academic punishment. I take back angst. There is always angst, and horses are perfectly poised to bring out all our hidden emotions, making us study them intensely in their eyes. One forms a silent and understood pact with their barn comrades. Who we are out there in the real world doesn't matter. Who we are at the farm is sacrosanct, and bonds are lifelong. My barn BFF is Rosemary. Notice that's in the present tense. I can go an entire decade without seeing her or speaking, but the moment we're in each other's company, we are as familiar with each other as we were fighting over who was going to fill a wheelbarrow with shavings when we stripped stalls as preteens. I hated stripping stalls down to the dirt. Rosemary remembers this. If Rosemary was in Bulgaria today and lost her passport, I would drop everything I was doing to fly over, meet her at the embassy, and plead her case. Luckily, she lives on the other side of the county and rarely travels abroad. These 3 present-day girls, Emery, Valeshka, and Lauren, have been with me at the farm for a very long time. I will laugh with them for hours, but I've also instilled a healthy fear of crossing my boundaries. The barn is no place for hijinks. They understand that if they do something foolish and break my trust, they must work a very long time to get that trust back, if at all. Not every child that enters the gates of this place will become as immersed in my life as these 3 and the ones that came before them. It's hard to tell which new student will weather the pre-teen era, stick with horses, and become an extended part of my family forever. But these 3 have passed the test, and I'm thrilled to welcome whoever is next marching their way toward me. For this reason, community horse farms must survive city expansion and growing populations everywhere. It's why I'm so passionate about having saved this farm by securing a forever home at Lavender Hill. If you'd like to be a part of stewarding that next generation, gifts of any amount are deeply appreciated and needed. You can give at the link that you'll find in the show notes and in this original essay. If I do it well, eventually one of those kids will grow up here and will become a leader in the horse world and beyond. No matter what, they will be leaders in their own lives. The purpose of this sleepover was to celebrate Valeshka graduating from high school. Next year, Emery is on deck, and Lauren follows in 2 years. We've already had some middle schoolers enamored with the tradition after watching the videos from this year's event, so hopefully it will become an annual shindig. I can't speak for the barn crew. They do that perfectly fine on their own, but I can speak for myself. 1 year ago, we were still in our old location, and if I had been approached for permission to schedule this event, I would have said absolutely not. A lot can change in a year. The entire landscape of my life has altered. At the old barn, events beyond working hours seemed impractical. We leased the land, so every decision beyond normal horse duty seemed out of bounds. The fields were built for function, not for lingering. There were roads just beyond the fence and neighbors nearby. The streetlights in the city beyond the tree line didn't allow for a night to feel like night. It wasn't the kind of land where you could easily settle beneath the stars. We did our chores, checked every gate twice, and went home. So the land wasn't made for a sleepover, but the biggest difference wasn't logistics. It was a state of survival I was living in. Between watching development press in around us and wondering if every day would be our last, my brain became exceptionally talented at manufacturing reasons to say no. If one of the girls had asked to sleep in the pasture, I could have given them an impressive list of why that was a bad idea. What if a horse got loose? What if someone was kicked? What if a snake wandered through? What if lightning rolled in at 2 a.m? What if someone's parents blamed me for some mishap? What if I didn't sleep because I spent the entire night listening for every unusual sound? None of those thoughts would have been irrational. They simply would have been all that I could see. There's a difference between being responsible and believing it's your job to anticipate every possible catastrophe before it happens. I lived caught between those extremes for a long time. It's an exhausting place to make decisions from because eventually every idea begins to feel dangerous if you stare at it long enough. At the new farm, the horses belong to this place. They know what the fields sound like after midnight when the owls take over. They know how to snooze standing beneath a sky of stars. They live the shift from sundown to sunrise. This farm invites us to live that shift alongside nature. And what better way to do that than spending the night with the horses? I should note here that whenever the girls walked out of their tent to visit the horses in the middle of the night, they terrified the creatures. No one gave the horses the memo that humans would be invading their newfound peace. However, this makes me glad for any strangers who might be passing through. The horses know these girls inside and out, and yet they were mystified by their unusual schedule. And at the old barn, I don't think the girls would have ever asked to christen this event. It wouldn't have felt right or welcoming. Before retiring to their spacious glamping in the field, the girls and I ran into each other late in the evening as I threw the last hay of the day and tidied up the barn. They asked if they could help. I told them that I was good and they could go about their business. I straightened Penny's reflective collar that had popped over her ear. I cleaned the barn hallway and double-checked the gates. As the sun rose on Sunday morning and Emery handed me a cup of Starbucks, I knew that I was going to be very sad to see them go. A year ago, I would have spent the night awake, listening for everything that could go wrong. This year, 3 girls slept in the pasture beneath the stars, and the horses stood watch, timidly, from a respectful distance. Everyone woke up contented and at peace. It wasn't until a week later, standing beside Penny and convincing myself she'd swallowed my pearl earring, that I understood what had changed. My first instinct is still to imagine every possible ending. But somewhere between the old farm and this new one, I've become a little bit more willing to let the plot unfold before deciding how the ending should go. Penny never swallowed the pearl. The girls didn't need rescuing. The horses ate hay and grass and snoozed beneath the stars. In the almost year since we moved to the new farm, the land keeps showing me how many fewer steps I have to take between uncertainty and trust. But like I tell the girls, if you break my trust, you're going to spend a lot more days cleaning the barn than nights spent sleeping in the pasture. Love, Kim.